My wife died while cheating, so I skipped her funeral, left my abusive stepdaughter penniless. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. My wife cheated and died doing it. So I skipped her funeral, left my manipulative stepdaughter broke, and took everything I could. I'm Jack, 32, and I run an import-export business in Louis. Started from scratch after 5 years of busting my ass working on cargo ships. Now I make a solid 7 figures a year, importing top-quality olive oils and wines from across Greece. Not bragging, just facts. This all ties into the crazy that's become my life. 6 years ago, I met Victoria at a wine expo in Athens. She was 35, the marketing director for some high-end hotel chain, and honestly, she was stunning, the kind of woman who stops people in their tracks. She approached me at my booth, complimented my selection of, and we ended up talking for 3 hours straight. She was sharp, hilarious, and seemed genuinely intrigued by my business philosophy. That's the first red flag I completely ignored, dumb as hell. She told me about her messy divorce and that she was starting fresh in Louis within the first hour, but her eyes were hypnotic and I was thinking with my dick. She had a 14-year-old daughter named Sarah. When Victoria introduced us, the girl barely looked up from her iPhone. I just shrugged it off. Teenagers, right? We dated for 8 months, and during that time, Victoria subtly pushed for us to be serious, mentioning how stable she was for Sarah and how her ex was terrible at support payments. She'd cook fancy dinners at my place, always bringing up how much Sarah would benefit from a stable 2-parent home. The sex was incredible. She knew exactly how to keep me hooked, and I was completely addicted. Whenever doubts crept in, she'd do this thing with her tongue that would send my brain offline. We got married in Santorini, her idea, my money. A €50, €0 wedding with 200 friends and family. I had 20 people there. Should been a warning sign. The sex mysteriously stopped exactly 2 months after the wedding. It didn't slow down, it just stopped like someone flicked a switch. Suddenly, she was exhausted from work, had migraines, or claimed she was worried about Sarah overhearing us. We went from daily intimacy to maybe once a month, and even then, it felt like she was doing me a favor. Meanwhile, Sarah turned into a nightmare the moment the ring was on her mom's finger. She'd barge into my home office during important calls, blast music, spill wine on my laptop, steal money from my wallet. When I confronted her, she'd cry and claim I promised the cash. Victoria's response was always the same. She's traumatized from the divorce. Be patient. You're the adult. Fucking pattern. I saw I was being played, but I convinced myself it would get better. I paid for everything: Sarah's school, $25, $0 a year for her to flunk half her classes. Therapy at $150 a session twice a week, where she'd spend the whole time talking trash about me. Designer clothes, the latest iPhone, trips to Miami with her friends. All on my dime. 3 years ago, Victoria started working late. Hotel that caters to high-end clients from Dubai and Russia is demanding, she said. I knew what entertainment meant in her line of work, but she came home each time with receipts and colleagues who vouched for her. And then the girls' trips started, once a month to places like Miami, Crete, Athens, beaches, clubs, always coming back exhausted but refreshed, always with a sexy new lingerie set I never got to see. That's when I decided enough was enough. Last month I finally did what I should done years ago. I hired a private investigator. Best €5, €0 I ever spent. His name was. He was a personal trainer at Olympic Fitness in 28, ex-military with a Greek god physique. The photos he sent over showed Victoria in hotel rooms in, meeting with him in the parking lot, driving off to some resort. Late nights in his apartment in the city center. They'd been sleeping together for a solid year. But I hadn't confronted her yet. Why? Because I was busy. While she was sneaking around with, I was moving assets, liquidating, restructuring, creating new companies, squirreling money away in accounts she'd never find. Divorce law here is tricky. She could claim half of everything acquired in the marriage. But if I hid assets or they were tied up in bad investments, judges can't split what isn't there. I'd been collecting evidence, receipts, texts, the works. Every time Sarah behaved badly, every rejection of intimacy, I kept a spreadsheet. Every girl's trip to Mykonos, Crete, Athens, every late night. My lawyer, the best in Louis, said I had enough dirt to bury her. She's driving to our villa in Cape Cod this weekend with her friends, and I know already requested time off. They're going to hit the bed I paid for in the house I built, probably laughing at how easy I was to manipulate. They got a good laugh, sure, but that ends now. I already filed the divorce papers. She'll be served at the villa. While she's gone, I'll change all the locks on the apartment I pay for near the university, cancel her credit cards at midnight, report her BMW stolen. It's in my business name, not hers. Sarah's next semester tuition. Not my problem anymore. The lease on the apartment near the campus expiring next month, not renewing it. I've had enough being the bank account, enough being the stable provider for this toxic marriage. Some of you might say I'm cruel, that I should think of Sarah, but I've been the bigger man for 6 years and I'm done pretending this whole thing isn't screwed up. I paid for everything, I've been a fool. No more. I've already taken action. She'll be served tomorrow at the villa, and while she's gone, the house locks will be changed. It's legal since everything is solely in my name. I canceled her cards, turned the BMW into a police report, and let her run up bills she'll never pay. The university apartment lease. Not renewing. I'm walking away from the charade. I feel lighter, honestly, I do. It's been 3 hours since I posted this, and now she's texting me. About traffic, she says. That she might be late. Don't wait up, she says. I won't, I'll be at my lawyer's office making sure everything's airtight. And now I get a call. The worst news, there's been a crash, I have to go. Post 2, she's dead. I can't even process it. 2 hours after my last message, the police called. Single car accident on the highway outside Athens. Her BMW wrapped around a tree. She died on impact. But here, the fucked up part, she wasn't alone. I drove to the hospital as fast as I could, cycling through feelings I couldn't even name: grief, relief, guilt, anger that she died before I could divorce her. When I got there, a cop pulled me aside. They need to prepare you, he said. Turns out she wasn't alone in that car. A male passenger survived minor cuts, bruises, maybe a concussion. I knew who it was before they even told me. They took me to ICU. There he was, this Greek godlike guy lying there in bandages and a hospital gown. The nurses told me he was out of it, high on painkillers and adrenaline. His clothes were in a bag, gym shorts and sandals. When I walked in, his eyes shot wide open when he saw me, and he started babbling apologies, calling me brother, saying it wasn't what I thought. She told me you had an arrangement, he slurred, said you couldn't satisfy her any more, that she knew about us. I just stared at him, this pathetic kid lying in a hospital bed, probably sticky with my wife's fluids. How long? I asked. 14 months, he whispered. Longer than I thought, than I wanted to believe. Were there others? I looked away. That was enough. I left without another word. What's the point? She was gone, and he was just a pawn in this fucked up game. A doctor then called me to identify her body. I didn't want to prepare myself. I just needed to see her. She looked small, fragile. The woman who'd ruled my life for 6 years, the one who made me feel like shit for not being enough, was just a broken body on a cold metal table. The doctor said she died instantly, probably never felt a thing. The crash had been at 140h, no skid marks, no chance to break. I signed the paperwork, the funeral arrangements. I told them I'd think about it. As I turned to leave, Sarah showed up. 20, dressed like she was heading to a club, fake eyelashes, tight dress. The moment she saw me, she started screaming. "This is your fault," she yelled. "You drove her to this. She hated being with you." I let her scream, didn't bother stopping her in the lobby. Security was edging closer, but I waved them off. When she finally ran out of breath, she spat the most predictable line. "You handle the funeral." She said Mom would want a beautiful service, and I'd pay. That's when I snapped. Not violently, more like a rubber band overstretched until it finally snaps. The tension just snapped loose. I looked at her with cold eyes and said, "No." "What no?" she yelled. "You're her husband. You're supposed to do this." I told her, husband is past tense now. I'm done with all of it. You, her memory, this fake family. I'm walking out. She chased me to the parking lot, screaming about responsibilities and how I'd be embarrassed. I got into my car, my personal car this time, not the company she wanted, and sped home. She kept yelling as I drove away. It's been a day now and my phone's blowing up. Her family, her friends who probably knew about her affairs, Sarah, leaving angry voicemails accusing me of being a monster. The funeral home called, wanting decisions. I handed them Sarah's number. My lawyer also called to ask if this changed anything with the assets. I said no, in fact, it sped everything up. Because I realized something sitting alone with a glass of my imported wine. Victoria died cheating on me. She died with some other man's, probably still inside her. And I'm supposed to mourn her. Be the grieving widower. Pay for some pompous funeral for a woman who spent our whole marriage lying and cheating. Fuck that. Tomorrow I'm canceling every one of her cards, stopping all automatic payments, evicting her from the university apartment, closing the bills she's been running up. Done. I'm not even sad about it. Is that fucked up? My wife of 6 years is dead, and all I feel is relief, like lifting a boulder off my back. The Greek Orthodox Church says I should forgive. That I should honor her memory and care for her daughter. To hell with that, I couldn't care less. Update. Sarah just posted a photo on Instagram, her and her mom, with some sad caption about losing her best friend. There's a GoFundMe in the bio, aiming for €20, €0 for funeral costs and to help her get back on her feet. In 2 hours, she's raised only €500. Good luck with the rest. And her sister, she's now calling me from a new number, begging for just €5, €0 for some urgent need. I sent her a screenshot of the contract she signed, then blocked her. Half a year later, the final chapter. And honestly, I wasn't planning to update again, but something today felt like cosmic closure. Maria and I were in Athens at a wine expo, the same one where I first met Victoria. Full circle, but now with a woman who actually contributes. We set up our booth, and I heard a familiar voice. I turned. It was not the entitled, designer-suited nightmare who tried to guilt me into paying for her mom's lavish funeral. This was a different woman, tired, worn, wearing a catering uniform. She looked at Maria and our setup, expression flickering with shame, envy, maybe regret. She swallowed, looked down, then spoke. "I owe you an apology," she said. Maria excused herself politely. Class act as always, continued. "After Victoria died, I read her journals. You were right about everything, her affairs, her thefts, the plan to divorce you, all of it. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? She was my sister and I loved her, but she was toxic. She destroyed everything good in her life, including Victoria. I told her. I wasn't destroyed, I was freed." Tears welled in her eyes. "Sarah's the same, maybe worse. She's pregnant now. The shop owner she's with kicked her out when he found out. She called me last week asking for money. When I told her I had none, she said I was dead to her. I simply said, 'Karma,' and she nodded. She looked at me with quiet acknowledgement and said, 'You did the right thing walking away, refusing to enable her. We were parasites and you were right to cut us off.' Before I could reply, she left. No need. What's done is done." Maria came back, squeezed my hand, and asked, "You okay?" "Better than okay," I said, watching slip into the crowd. "I'm exactly where I need to be, business thriving, relationship strong, peace in my heart. The parasites, gone, the truth, out there. And Victoria, she's in the ground where her family can barely afford to bury her. Not remembered as a devoted wife and mother, but as a serial cheater who died with another man's in her. Poetic justice doesn't get much. Update. Sarah just tried to add me on LinkedIn, the nerve. Blocked and reported. Update. My accountant called between stolen funds, crypto, and liquidated assets. I'm €300, €0 richer than before Victoria's death. Turns out cutting off parasites is profitable. Update. Called again, begging for €5, €0, claiming an emergency. I sent her the contract, then blocked her again. And 6 months later, here I am, living my best life. Didn't plan to update, but this week's been a revelation. First, my business's value doubled. I signed 3 big distribution deals, opened a second warehouse in Kansas City. Maria and we're together. Not living together, I learned my lesson, but we're dating seriously. We even went back to Santorini, staying in the hotel where I married Victoria. We made new memories there on the same balcony. She knew the significance and suggested we make it better. We did repeatedly. And here's the final bit of justice. The trainer who was balls deep in Victoria when she wrapped her BMW around a tree, he reached out recently, not directly of course, through a mutual acquaintance who owns a gym equipment company I work with. He's wiped out. Gym memberships all over Greece refused to hire him after the scandal. His reputation's shot. Tried online training, but my website ranks higher, so he moved to Cyprus for a fresh start. Lasted 2 months before a client's husband recognized him from my site and beat him bloody in the gym parking lot. Now he's back in Greece, living with his parents, carrying bricks for €40 a day. But here's the twist. His medical bills are mounting. The crash wasn't minor. He's got spinal injuries, ongoing physiotherapy, pain management, about €50, €0 over the next couple of years. Greek insurance won't cover the experimental treatments he needs, and his parents are. Farmers, no money. So he dared ask our mutual friend to win the jackpot and ask me for a loan. I met him at a in Larissa. He looked terrible, no more six-pack, just a soft belly. Designer clothes replaced with faded jeans. "Jack," he started, "I know you don't have to help me, but I'm desperate. I can't work construction much longer." I let him talk, then pulled out my phone, showing him a photo of Maria and me on a yacht, champagne in hand, worth more than his monthly salary. "This is my life now," I said. "No lies, no betrayals, no parasites draining me." He broke down, crying tears for the first time. "Please," he begged, "I'll pay back with interest, sign anything." I finished my coffee, looked at this broken man who once mocked me for being a provider. I said, "You left my wife in my bed, laughed at me, and now you're a bad investment." I left him crying into his and the universe, still spilling karma. 3 days ago, Sarah reappeared, not in person but through a lawyer. She's suing me for emotional damages, claiming I owe support as her guardian and that I published her criminal activities harming her future. Her lawyer demanded €100, €0. I laughed so hard Maria thought I was losing it. My lawyer's response: a 1-page dossier with all her crimes, theft, defamation, her signed confession for €130, €0 stolen, my counterclaim of €500, €0 damages. She dropped the case within a day. But here's the best part. She couldn't even afford her lawyer. He was working on contingency, and once he saw the no-money signs, he billed her €5, €0, which she doesn't have. Now she's being sued by her own lawyer. Last I heard, she's living with some 45-year-old tourist shop owner on Hokkaido, running errands for rent. And as for the Villa Inn, I finally sold it for €2 4 million to a Russian oligarch. Cold cash. The day I signed, he nodded and said, "When someone dies during whoring, it's God's justice. You're lucky." Lucky. She showed her true face before taking half my stuff. My first wife waited 20 years, cost me a refinery. We toasted with vodka worth more than Sarah's annual salary, and I walked out €2 4 million richer. That villa was the last tether to that life. Now it's money to fund my expansion abroad. Maria and I celebrated afterward, dinner, laughs, the whole 9 yards. When she asked how I felt, I said, like I've won. Because I have. Not because they're suffering, honestly, I don't care, but because I'm thriving despite everything. My business's value is double. I'm in the best shape of my life. I started boxing. Fighting physically is surprisingly good therapy. My bank account, heavier than ever, and the parasites, they're exactly where they deserve to be, carrying bricks, Sarah selling her body for rents, family fighting over a few flowers for her grave. The truth, I don't feel guilty. I regret not seeing the signs sooner, not trusting my instinct that told me something was wrong. But forgiveness? No thanks. That's what caused this mess. Forgiving red flags, disrespect, lies, it only enables more of the same. What's divine? Justice. Because sometimes justice means letting people face the full consequences of their choices. Victoria chose to cheat, scam, and destroy me. She died in a car I paid for doing it. Sarah chose to lie, steal, and trash her own future. She's now with some old man playing stepdaughter while her mother's lessons live on. And I chose to stop being a victim, to protect my worth, to cut the parasites loose. And this decision, it's made my life better than I ever imagined, with those leeches sucking me dry. So to anyone out there in the same boat, used, cheated, or treated like a walking ATM, listen up. You owe them nothing. Not your money, not your forgiveness, not your suffering. Cut them loose. Build something better from the wreckage. Because the best revenge isn't cold, it's served with champagne in a crystal flute as you toast to your freedom with someone who actually cares. That's all I've got. I'm out.